Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out another of the brand new 2022 Schleich figures, as this time we are checking out the only new sauropod that they have released for this year, which is an Amargasaurus. And I must say, the promotional images that Schleich had initially released for this figure were pretty deceiving, because I feel like it is far more appealing here in hand than the promotional images had led me to believe. And that's not surprising, because a lot of the time the Schleich promo images kind of give you like a weird sort of a front angle of the figure, and I feel like it often deceives you into thinking the figures aren't quite as nice as they are, and they usually end up looking way better in hand, and that's definitely the case here with this Amargasaurus, if you ask me. And I'm really happy to see a new sauropod, because we just don't get that many sauropod figures nowadays. So anytime we get a new one, even if it's a species that we've had throughout the dinosaur collecting community in the past, it's still very exciting for me, because I like having variety, especially when it comes to a species as awesome as an Amargasaurus. And this one has a pretty nice and naturalistic looking paint scheme to it, I think, as well, and it is sporting that really nice Schleich dark wash, which again I will continuously say until the end of time that I absolutely love. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look at this right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Amargasaurus, you can see that he absolutely has a very gentle, giant type of a look to him. He also has a very nicely painted eye with a black, sporting a beautiful gloss coat to it, which you can see shining and glistening here in the light. You can also see that as far as the figure goes, we pretty much have like a very strong skin textured type look, almost like an elephant-like look to the skin detailing, similar to what we had seen on the recent Parasaurolophus. And you can also see that again, that dark wash has crawled in and out of every one of the cracks and crevices of the detailing of the Amargasaurus, and definitely has highlighted all of that detail very nicely. On top of that, you have a nice mixture of a dark brown creeping within those areas, as well as some pretty nice variations of browns throughout the course of the figure. You have a nice light brown for the majority of it, but you also have, like up here on the top of the head, you can see darker browns, and not only darker browns, but it seems like we have like some variations of darker browns, as well as even some blacks kind of showing up, like here on the tip of the snout you can see some blacks. The mouth is also nicely elaborated, especially with that dark wash, which really helps to make that detail jump out at you. You can see the underside as well looks pretty nice. As you move down the course of the neck, you start to see those trademark Amargasaurus spines start to pick up, as well as that almost sail-like area, which again is probably the most defining area of an Amargasaurus. And you can see we have a nice dark brown, and then a very nice reddish tone of color that runs through, as well as a dark brown again up there on the top. Super appealing to the eye, I think. Really smooth, realistic transitions within those areas, and also some beautiful detailing for sure. Like there's a lot of really nice fine detail within that area. As you move down the course of the neck, you see more of that, again, skin texture, very elephant-like, I think, as far as the detailing aspect goes. And when you get down here into the body, you can see the shoulder blade there elaborated from the skin a little bit. Also some skin stretching off of the body, as well as a lot of skin wrinkling in general, just kind of running up the length of the front leg right there. And then as you move down, this tag is in my way, but as you move down into the foot, you can see the foot sculpt looks pretty nice if my camera would focus on it. You've got some nicely painted nails there with a black, and all of the skin detail and everything looks great, again thanks to that dark wash, which really highlights the skin detail. You can also see some other variations of darker browns showing up here and there, just kind of giving it some color variation. Some decent girth in the stomach region as well of the Amargasaurus, showing that it certainly is a pretty well-fed dinosaur. It's not starving or anything like that, as well as again a plethora of kind of like cracks and crevices within the skin texture of the Amargasaurus. As you move along, you can see the hip bone protruding from the skin right there. You can also see kind of like a tone of red that runs along the back of the dinosaur. Actually, I just noticed that right now. But you can see like right under the darker brown, there's a slight hint of that red that runs down here along the back of the Amargasaurus. And you can also see the skin stretching off of the tail very nicely here when it comes to this leg pulling forward, stretching that skin, kind of bunching it up a little bit right there. You can also see some pretty nice muscle definition moving down the course of the leg. As you move down here, you can see that the foot sculpt again looks very nice, really nicely painted nails. The nails have a little bit of a glossy look to them, so they shine like they probably would. And then as you lead back up here into the tail, again, the detailing continues to look pretty much the same throughout as far as that skin texture goes. Again, very elephant-like. I've said that probably like 3 times now, but that's pretty much the way I perceive the skin texture on this figure. And again, that dark wash absolutely ties it all together quite beautifully. And then you can continue to see again that we have that reddish tone that runs along the spines here on the back of the Amargasaurus before tapering off back to a dark brown. But there is another area right here that shows up with a little bit more red, kind of highlighting the tops here of this area, and then transitioning again back to that dark brown, leading out into the tip of the tail. The tail does have a very nice curve to it, really beautiful and majestic looking curve to the tail of the Amargasaurus. The dinosaur has a very nice turn in the neck, not a super dramatic turn, but you can see a nice slight turn there. So you can see that the head is facing away from this side, the right side, and you can also see again that the detailing looks pretty much the same over here like we had seen on the initial side. Nice kind of creasing and everything there around the eye. Very nicely painted eye as well. And then again, as we move back here into the neck, you start to see those very dark shades of brown and that really smooth transition between the red and the dark brown right there, just giving that area a nice element of flashiness, but with some pretty nice realistic tones of color. I think it doesn't make the dinosaur in any way, shape, or form look unnatural or too flashy, which is definitely a plus. As you move down here, again, you can see the shoulder blade and everything, as well as just generally the structure of that front leg, and some nice creasing here. Again, as the leg is pushing into the body, you can see all of the skin creasing and wrinkling right there, showing off some beautiful movement as the dinosaur walks along. You've got some more really nice skin texture as you move down the course of that leg. The elbow is present there in the back of the leg, as well as that really nice foot sculpt again here in the front. The dinosaur's tail just keeps tapping the back, so it's hard to get that perfect angle of it. And then moving back up here into the stomach region, again, lots of really nice skin texture shown, as well as quite a bit of color variation with some darker shades of brown, some lighter shades of browns, and all of that nice dark wash, making everything pop nicely. You can again see the hip bone over here, as well as some muscle definition, some creasing here in the back of the knee, the kneecap itself in the front, as well as some skin wrinkling right here in the front of that leg. And then moving down the leg again back here, you get down to that very nice looking foot sculpt with the nails painted yet again with a black. And then moving back up here, you could see some more creasing right here behind the thigh as you lead out the length of the tail. You have more of that nice looking skin texture, again, that beautiful curve in the tail before it transitions to a mostly brown tip of the tail. And even the underside supports some pretty darn nice looking detailing throughout, which again is highlighted beautifully with that dark wash. So definitely a very fun Amargasaurus, and actually quite a bit nicer than I was expecting, which is also a huge plus. As far as a size goes, for a length, it is about 10 inches or around 25.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point would be that spine area back there. And you're looking at about 3 3/4 inches or around 9.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, we've got our Shadow T-Rex again here, showing you that the Amargasaurus is actually quite small, especially in comparison to that Rex right there. But I feel like the figure as a whole falls right into pretty much that size range you would expect for an Amargasaurus. Like, you wouldn't expect it to be absolutely massive. So the size, honestly, is pretty much what I expected it to be, roughly. And for another comparison, here are the 2 older Parasaurolophus figures, since I had them out from the recent Parasaurolophus, the 2022 version review. I figured why not bring them in here and show them in comparison to the Amargasaurus, especially because those Parasaurolophus are pretty popular figures from Schleich, or at least they were when they were released, so there's a good chance you guys will probably have one of the 2 of those. And then we have everyone's favorite Schleich figure, the Acrocanthosaurus, now in comparison to the Amargasaurus, again continuing to show off the fairly small size of the figure. And then for another comparison, there is the newer Schleich Tyrannosaurus in comparison to the Amargasaurus, definitely showing you that the figure sports a smaller size. That Rex, its head in general, is pretty massive in comparison to the Amargasaurus. And then we've got the Schleich Brontosaurus here next to the Amargasaurus, showing that these 2 aren't too far off in size, although the Brontosaurus is quite clearly a lot longer than the Amargasaurus here. But another figure that hopefully, if you guys have, will help to show you the size. And then the final figure for a comparison is actually the brand new 2022 Parasaurolophus from Schleich with the Amargasaurus from Schleich. So showing you these two figures here in comparison to each other should give you a pretty good idea, again, roughly of what you're getting into if you are purchasing either of them. So this brand new Amargasaurus from Schleich is definitely another really nice release from them, and it's pretty cool to see an Amargasaurus enter the Schleich line. I don't think they've had one in the line prior. Like with the Parasaurolophus, they have had previous versions, and in fact, they've actually had again, older versions, even more so than what I had shown you in the comparison of that review. But the Amargasaurus, I don't think they've had one before. I could be wrong, but I don't think they have. So it is pretty nice to see one from Schleich, see what they would envision an Amargasaurus looking like. And this is pretty much what I expected from them. But again, the promotional images kind of deceived me a little bit, made me think, although I was excited for it, it definitely, in my opinion, looks nicer here in hand than it did in the promotional images, which is definitely a plus. And I really like the coloration of this one because the coloration is a nice naturalistic tone of color for what I would expect to see on a sauropod. Like, I never expect sauropods to be super flashy and colorful, so that's pretty much perfectly creates what I think the coloration of an Amargasaurus would look like. And the sculpt as well is pretty darn nicely detailed throughout, sporting a very elephant-like detailing as far as the skin texture goes, some beautiful smooth transitions back and forth between the colorations as far as the paintwork goes, and a dark wash that ties everything together. Overall, with a pretty nice size, because again, it's not anything that's massive, but it's not by any means too small, so it definitely sports a pretty nice size as a whole. So as far as this figure goes, I definitely think it's worth picking up, so if you are interested, make sure you check the link in the description, as I will include a link to the Schleich website where you can head on over there and purchase yourself this Amargasaurus for yourself, so make sure you do that, and once the other Schleich 2022 releases come into stock on their website, I will be sure to review those for you then as well. So one way or another, if you are interested in this, again, make sure you check the link in the description, go buy yourself this Amargasaurus, and like, comment, and subscribe before you do, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.